Hey, it's John Nemo. So, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know one of my favorite things to say about LinkedIn and lead generation and getting new business is the money is in the mailbox. The money is in the messaging. But sometimes, despite your best efforts, those conversations go cold. So, let me take you into my inbox and show you what I mean. What do you do when you've got all these different conversations, you've got all these leads going? What happens when a conversation goes cold, when a lead stops responding, when they stop engaging? So let's say, for example, I'm using Becca from our team, but let's say we had a bunch of back and forth, and let's say I sent over some content, or I sent a proposal, or I sent a video, whatever it might be, but she went quiet. Like, what do you do? How do you get someone to re-engage when these conversations have gone quiet? So I'm going to start by sharing what not to do, right? You're going to see this all the time, and we've been trained to do this is, oh, just keep doing this. Hey, just following up, just checking back in, just bumping this back up, circling back. Those are not something you want to send. And the reason being, you're immediately signaling to the other person, oh, this is a sales conversation, or I'm desperate, or I only want money from you, something like that. I only care about myself and what I want to hear about, this proposal I sent. So there's so many better ways to get people warmed back up and re-engage. And that's what I want to cover next. So the best thing you can do is look at your prospect's profile. Now I'm going to use Joe Walsh. Him and I have been talking. He's a great guy. Get better soon, Joe. He's in the hospital right now. So everyone tell Joe, get better soon. I think he's going to watch this replay. But Joe is from Chicago, right? So Joe and I have been talking. He's going to engage us for our Done For You LinkedIn lead gen services once he's out of the hospital. Again, I can look at Joe's profile and I can pick up conversation building ideas, icebreakers, rapport builders. I can look at where he's worked, right? I've already said like where he lives in Chicago. I can look even lower and see like where his education has been, right? Where he went to school, volunteering, things he's passionate about, skills that he's worked on. I can look at what other people have said about him. I can even look at, recent posts. If he's had recent activity where he's had certain posts, I can say, hey, cool, I saw you posted about XYZ. So let me give you some real-time examples of how to do this very simply and some scripting. So let's say Joe and I have already been talking. I'm trying to get him to re-engage to respond to an ebook I sent over or something like that. I'm going to look at my own life and say, what do I know about Chicago, Illinois, where Joe lives? So I'm going to go in and have a script ready, and I'll say, my apologies, Joe. I just remembered you lived in Chicago. If you're a Bears fan, that's their football team for my international folks, the NFL, National Football League, Chicago Bears. You likely need some emotional support right now after that game, right? So again, this is a sports-related joke to get Joe going, right? Because again, even if he's not a sports fan, and I don't know that up front, I don't know if Joe's a Bears fan. I just know he lives in Chicago. But again, it's a way for me to kind of say, you know what, I'm a sports nut. I know he lives in Chicago. His football team just lost a really heartbreaking game. Even if he's not a fan, he'll write back. Because what people say when I've used this script is, if they're not a sports fan, they'll just write back and say, yeah, I'm not really a sports fan, but I saw that people were really upset about it. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. The key is to get them to re-engage. Now, in this case, when I sent Joe something like this, he immediately responded, right? He immediately responded, was like, oh man, lifelong Bears fan here, blah, blah, blah. And then he started talking trash about the Minnesota Vikings, which is not appropriate and will not be tolerated, Joe. Now, we're all of a sudden building rapport and bonding around our football teams. This is the key, right? I'm warming him back up with a non-work conversation, and it's personalized to something about Joe, where he lives, where he works. So another example could be, let's say I'm not a sports fanatic, but here's another example. I'm just going to look at my own life and say, well, what do I know about Chicago? And this is a true thing, right? I could say, hey, just thought of you, Joe. My wife was talking about summer vacation ideas last night, and Chicago came up. What would you recommend? And if you haven't really done this in your life and you're like, well, I don't want to fake this, you could just say, hey, I see you live in Chicago. I've always wondered about visiting there. If I was to come, we have, 3 boys under the age of 10. What would you recommend for the full Chicago experience? Again, if I'm asking Joe, hey, I've always wanted to visit Chicago, Illinois. What would you recommend for, a family of 5 or people with 3 young boys who are into science or whatever? Like, just be a human being, right? The idea is take what you relate to in your real life when you see things on someone's profile and just make conversation about that. So, hey, I see you live in this town. How do you survive the winters? Or, hey, I see you live in this town. Are you a fan of their sports teams? Hey, I see you live in this town. I've always wanted to visit. What would you recommend? Here's what my family's most interested in. People love to talk about themselves, right? Joe is no exception. We're all that way. I'm that way, by the way. If you come on LinkedIn and you look at my profile and you say, hey, I see you live in Minneapolis, St. Paul. How do you survive the winters? I would immediately write back because that's different than 99% of the LinkedIn messages I get. If you look through my profile and started looking at, my goofy posts and things like that and commented about something I wrote and said, oh, hey, how did your live event go? I see you had a live event, or love the story about you and your son. You're now talking my favorite language, which is all about me. You don't have to every time be like, and by the way, what about the business? Remember, they're going to see in their inbox the previous conversation. It's not like they're going to forget what we were talking about, correct? So if I just send Becca a fun message here and mention Chicago or whatever, it's not like she can't immediately scroll back up and be like, oh yeah, that's the LinkedIn guy. He sent me the ebook. He's been waiting to hear back. So again, there's lots of different ways you can do this, but the whole key is you find something on their profile that's personal, related to your life, because your life is unique, right? Would you ever want to visit Chicago? What do you know about Chicago? What could you ask someone who's from Chicago, or the school they went to, or the companies they worked at? Do you see how easy this is? So here's an example of some, copy that I would use. If somebody had posted that they just were in Florida for a work conference, again, on the LinkedIn profile, right? I can see what people have been posting about. So I can go to Becca's profile and I can look here under activity and posts and see, what has she been posting about? Did she recently travel somewhere? Did she recently win an award for work? You can just click this arrow to go through recent posts or comments or things she's, uploaded. Now, I could, again, relate that to my life. Like if she had traveled to Florida for a work conference, I could say, hey, saw your post about getting to travel to work for Florida. Given it's -13 here in Minnesota, please stand outside and tell me if the sun and heat still exist, right? Ha, ha, ha. Here's the thing. Humor's undefeated. And I write this in my book, right? Humor is undefeated. If you can make people laugh, you're always going to have an audience and you're always going to have engagement. That has never not been the case. And I know people say, oh no, my audience is too serious. I work with attorneys and lawyers and doctors and executives and CEOs. They're still human. They still like to laugh. They're still people. They still go to their kids, sporting events on Saturday morning and cheer for them. Like they're still regular people. And the more you can do that, the more you're going to stand out on LinkedIn. Now, of course, with humor, please be careful. Like I shouldn't have to say that, but like if you're going to make jokes, be careful with that. So I can talk more about that later. But like one of my big things with humor, and I'll just pull up my own profile, is I do a lot of self-deprecation, because if I can make fun of myself, then that's safe humor, because, right, I'm poking fun at my own goofiness with my fashion photos or my popcorn bucket photos. Be careful. If you're going to try to use humor, you got to be careful that it's not taken the wrong way. Here, I'm going to show you here a great example of how to use humor plus some visuals. So let's say, for example, Becca and I are in my inbox, and let's say we've been going back and forth. We've been talking about some proposals. We've, shared some ideas, and Becca has gone kind of quiet. So I've got a great script that I use. And again, I love this about LinkedIn. They realize the inbox is supposed to feel like a one-on-one text messaging thread or conversation. There's a reason you can add animated GIFs. There's a reason you can do, videos and attachments and emojis and things like that. They want it to feel conversational, because LinkedIn knows, at the end of the day, these are two human beings talking to each other one-on-one. So what I might do is I've got a great little script here where I'm going to show you. So this is the text I have, and I'm going to use some of my favorite GIFs. Now, animated GIFs are something where, again, it's a great image that just kind of repeats itself. So one of my go-to ones is Caddyshack, where he says, we're waiting. Here it is. Well, we're waiting, right? So if I was waiting on a proposal from Becca, I would literally say, I would send this animated GIF in her inbox. This is humor plus an animated GIF. Do you still want to talk about our done-for-you services? So I can literally send this message plus the animated GIF. So let me send that. And you can see in the inbox how it shows up, right? So Becca's going to get this funny GIF while we're waiting. And then I'll say, sorry, I couldn't resist. And I might add something like, that's my favorite GIF to send when I'm waiting on something. Did you still want to talk about the proposal? If so, what would you suggest as the next step? If not, no worries. Just reply no, and I can cease my politely persistent follow-up. See too how I'm using emojis. I'm adding humor. I'm making it fun, lighthearted. There's another great one if you want to do the, I'm waiting. There's a great Mr. Bean. There it is, where he's just looking at his watch and he's sitting here. So like if you put this one in, same idea. Like you could be like, hey, Becca, this is me right now. And again, you're poking fun. You're having humor, all kidding aside, super excited to hear your thoughts on, XYZ. And then just send it, right? And again, it's a fun way to follow up. It's add emojis so they know you're joking, right? Give them those visual cues. Another great one that I love to use involves the greatest dog on earth, Rosie, right? So you can see I've got these cute pictures of Rosie the dog, who literally, this is a picture of her wanting me to take her on a walk. This is, she will come and stalk me like all good dogs do and give me the puppy dog eyes. And so I will literally, let me download this image. I'm going to show you how you can use this. And I'll say, Becca, this is what Rosie the dog does when I don't respond to her request for a walk. Should I stay in vigil like this outside your LinkedIn inbox until I hear back about the proposal, right? And again, add the humor, the laughter. And then I'll click the little paperclip and I'll upload Rosie the dog. Who can resist those puppy dog eyes, by the way, right? Cat people, you could never get away with this. So I'm going to send the image of the dog, and in her inbox, Becca's going to see this message. This is what Rosie the dog does when I don't respond to a request for a walk. Like, again, test this, right? Test humor, test it. Find what feels comfortable for you, what fits your personality. The animated GIFs are great. Again, it's just a lighthearted way to have fun. I very rarely see people get offended and upset and like, how dare you follow up, right? Again, think about the difference between that and the whole just following up, just checking back in, bumping this up, circling back. See the difference between that and then these ultra kind of personalized follow-ups where you're having fun with it. You're displaying some humor. And again, the more you can personalize this, the better results you're going to get. So another question is, hey, what if I try all these different things in the inbox? What if I'm trying all the humor and the personalized follow-up? I see you live in this town, and how do you like, this school? Or I see you posted about, shoveling your driveway. Do you need me to come over and help? Like, what if you've tried all these personal follow-ups and the person still is ghosting and you're kind of at wit's end, right? People will say, well, when should I give up? When should I stop following up? If you're at the point, now my advice on when I stop following up is when I'm dead or I get a hard no. If I get a hard no, I'll stop following up, or if I drop dead, because as you know, and as I know, the long game is what works. I've literally had people say, I'm so glad you followed up. I had a life event. I mean, I've literally had people say, thanks for your patience. There was a hurricane. Or thanks for your patience. Joe Walsh is a great example. Joe went quiet for a little bit. Turned out the guy was admitted to the hospital, right? And ended up having to get surgery and stuff. And so he wrote me back and was like, hey, I do want to move forward with the project. Sorry, I was out of pocket. I ended up having to get hospitalized for XYZ. I'll be ready in this many weeks. But it's like, you just don't know. Like, there's real life going on. So you have to just understand that sometimes following up, it's not about you, right? They have a life too. They have other things that are busy. So keep following up. But if you get to a point where you're like, listen, I've been following up for this long, I'm ready to move on with my life, I'm going to try one last time. Here's what I've seen work really good for kind of a last ditch message. And it's literally just one line that you send on LinkedIn. Have you given up on this? Have you given up on this project? Have you given up on us working together? And again, this is at a stage where you've already talked about working together. You've already offered services. You've already sent a proposal. They just haven't signed up yet. But they had once upon a time wanted to work with you, wanted to hire you. Then they just went completely ghost. You tried everything else and they never followed up. Now, the reason this works is it kind of puts the onus back on them. Have they given up? are they going to miss out? You don't want to look like the desperate person chasing. You want to have that authority frame. And this is something I got from Chris Voss, the FBI hostage negotiator, Never Split the Difference, where he's like, just sends us one line. Have you given up on this, or have you given up on us working together? There's another line. This is a little more blunt, and this is from a guy in my coaching group from the East Coast, but this also works out really well. He sends a message that says, are we doing this? Would appreciate a response. So some people feel like, oh, that's a little too harsh, a little too edgy, especially me being in the Midwest where we're all passive aggressive. But he's from the East Coast, and I have used this. It gets responses because it's so short. Are we doing this? Would appreciate a response. That's the key thing, is understanding how to just make it very simple and very clear. Like, hey, are we doing this or not? Like, are we moving on or not? The reality is, if someone wants to do it and they're interested, they're going to respond to that. And that's when they're going to say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I dropped the ball on this. My kid got sick, or oh my gosh, work blew up for the last couple of weeks. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Like, people will say, thank you for following up. Or they'll be like, actually, yeah, I'm not interested. I found a different vendor. Oh, good. Well, now I can cross you off my list and stop wasting time chasing you and personalizing. Or I might say, if I'm selling LinkedIn lead generation services, have you given up on using LinkedIn to find leads? Because again, you're kind of calling them out, but in a non-confrontational way. Have you given up? Are you moving on? And they might say, yeah, I have given up. I'm going to do search engine optimization instead, right? I'm going to use Facebook ads. But again, the idea is you're kind of just saying, are you giving up, or are we doing this? Would appreciate a response. Basically like, hey, don't leave me hanging. That's a little more aggressive. And, you don't have to do that, but it does work, right? Would appreciate a response. Just 2 lines. So again, those are ways where at the end of the day, if you've tried everything else and you're ready to give up, those are some different scripts that you can use. Now, if you want all of this, I know we've covered so much ground. I've got all this in my book for free. So if you want the best advice, and this is true, by the way, clients do fire us. Like, you should see the stories on here. Oh my God. So I just updated our website. Catherine got too many clients too quickly. This is our done for you LinkedIn lead gen. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. Bill, like, too many clients too fast. The cool thing is we have multiple stories. Anyway, go to the Nemo Media Group website, click on the free resources, or just go under free, and then you see the free books, or just click free. This book, LinkedIn Riches, I completely rewrote it all. I completely updated it, expanded it. If you've read it before, but haven't gotten the new version in 2025, I doubled the size. So I doubled the entire book. It has all these scripts in there, all these step-by-step, word-for-word scripts of how to get people re-engaged. If you sign up here, this will send you can either get the audiobook copy or the Kindle file or a PDF. So you can grab it right there. If you don't want to opt in, just go to my profile, and it's here on my profile as a PDF. You can just download it there. But again, if you want a deeper dive, if you want all these scripts in one place, definitely go grab the book LinkedIn Riches. And again, the key thing is, when you're doing this follow-up, when you're in these inboxes, find ways to be creative, find ways to be personable, find ways to build rapport, find ways to talk about non-work stuff. That's the biggest thing, is look at their profile. They're giving you tons of hints about things you could mention that aren't related to work, where they live, where they went to school, recent activities in their life. Take advantage of this. It's not rocket science. And again, it's worth your time to do with someone who already is interested, already has been talking to you, already looked at a proposal, already said they wanted to see the content. That's when you want to marry this in. So there you go.